Start off by Young Yun from the Harlem Hospital Center, who's going to be presenting abstract 105 between metabolic syndrome-related diseases and colorectal cancer risk, a propensity score matched analysis using the NIH All of Us research program.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Young Eun, and I'm currently a resident physician working at New York City Health and Hospitals Harlem. And today's topic would be associations between metabolic syndrome-related diseases and colorectal cancer risk. This is a propensity score matched analysis using the NIH All of Us research program. And for those who are unfamiliar with this program, it is a cohort study aims to recruit at least 1 million people across the United States. And currently it has passed the half mark, 500,000. And one of the important goals is to overrepresent people who were traditionally underrepresented in biomedical research. And it's all free to use, and it's very accessible to all the researchers and participants alike. So key takeaway of today's presentation is that hypertension, hyperlipidemia, type 2 diabetes, and steatotic liver diseases were all associated with an increased risk of colorectal cancer after adjusting for confounding risk factors, which reinforces the significant link between metabolic syndrome and colorectal cancer. As you would already know, the risk of colorectal cancer is increased in people with metabolic syndrome. And they do share the same risk factors such as demographic factors, age, gender, race, ethnicity, socioeconomic factors such as income and education, geographical factors for where they're living in, and environmental factors such as cigarette exposure. And our aim was to see if there's still a significant associations between the two, even after adjusting for these shared confounding risk factors in a diverse set of large national database. In order to do this, I used All of Us research program registered tier version 7, which includes survey data, electronic health records, and body measurements from a little more than 250,000 participants. And I picked colorectal cancer patients using ICD-9 and 10 codes if they had 2 or more diagnoses in the EHR. And we used a statistical method called propensity score matching to match 2 of participants without the diagnosis of colorectal cancer with each and every colorectal cancer patients we identified, aligning for age, gender, race, ethnicity, income, education, region, and cigarette exposure. And then we calculated the odds ratio for the risk of colorectal cancer associated with the metabolic syndrome-related disorders. Between the colon cancer group and the control group, there was no statistically significant differences in matched factors. And as you can see in the table, age was same at 67.6, p-value is more than 0.05, indicating no statistical difference. And gender, race, ethnicity, cigarette exposures were all balanced between the two groups. I left out some of the factors because I ran out of space. Because we didn't use weight as a matched factor, BMI was a little lower in colorectal cancer group, which was surprising. However, obesity prevalence was not significantly different between the two groups. This is the most important slide. X-axis indicates the odds ratio of colorectal cancer. 1.00 odds ratio is indicated here as a dotted line, and anything in the right side indicates an increased odds ratio of having colorectal cancer. And the left axis, Y-axis, indicates obesity, underweight, and metabolic syndrome-related disorders. And obesity was not associated with an increased risk of colorectal cancer, and underweight status was at odds ratio of 1.76. And type 2 diabetes, hypertension, hyperlipidemia, and steatotic liver disease were all associated with an increased odds of having colorectal cancer. These findings reinforce the significant link between metabolic syndrome and colorectal cancer risk. In our study, obesity status was not associated with an increased risk of colorectal cancer. However, underweight status was. We think this might be due to the fact that because colorectal cancer diagnosis might be earlier than the body measurements, it might reflect the effect of cancer cachexia, treatments such as radiotherapy or chemotherapy, or malnutrition leading to weight loss. Because this is a cross-section analysis, it does not establish causation. It only suggests association. And again, the weight and height used in the analysis were pulled from the data that was recorded at the time of enrollment to the database. So the colorectal cancer diagnosis that was established using an EHR might be earlier than the timing of body measurements. And because we used ICD codes, it's limited to accuracy and completeness, even though it was used in other large prevalence studies before. Key takeaways are these components of metabolic syndrome and steatotic liver diseases were all associated with an increased risk of colorectal cancer, even after adjusting for major confounding risk factors, which reinforces the link between the metabolic syndrome and colorectal cancer risk. I would like to thank all of us research program and the participants alike, and the ISI Incorporate that awarded the Concord Cancer Merit Award for this presentation. Thank you very much.